better thought, we should probably talk about breaking this down and setting up your next reaction. So what you're going to want to do is when you're switching these out, you're going to want to have your second titration flask on deck. So mine was heating. I'm going to put it on my wire mesh just to make sure it doesn't crack on the cold bench. Rinsing down anything that may have been lingering. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to have a waste up in the front for your reacted solutions. These contain phthalates, so we want to just take them to the waste. So we're going to take your flask here. This is going to go to the waste. Again, this is the color you're going to want to see. If I add more base, what will happen is the color will eventually get more pink. Well, it might be a little bit hard to see with the light, but it is getting a bit darker, and it's showing that that would be an over titration. So we want the faint colors there, okay? This is going to go to the waste, and then I'm going to get my next guy up. So you want to make sure that your burette has enough solution to do a titration. So that last one took about 38 mils. I'm at about 47 here, so I only have 3 mils to titrate. So I'm going to want to refill my burette. And if you have enough solution, which you should, because we did prepare 250 mils of this with only a few rinsings, you should be able to just bring it back to 0 and stay consistent. And that's going to be what we suggest for you to do. So I'm going to make sure to have my rinses below in case anything spills. And I'll set this back to 0. And a little more. Again, always transfer into this smaller beaker here. It says NaOH transfer. That's going to be what you want to use when you're refilling your burette. Okay, I'm at 0. And I'm ready to titrate. So this is my flask 2. I'm ready to go. Remember, put in the phenolphthalein because your solution will never change color at the end point of the reaction. So I'm on number 2. For number 1, I actually had a little bit more of what I should have used for the directions. So for this one, I had about 0.7 grams, but no matter what, you can still do the reaction. If you have too much, you might not be able to use your burette, the whole total solution in there. So that's why we have a range for you. So this next one, number 2, I actually have about 1/3 of what that is. So I would guess that this would probably turn around like 12 to 15 mils. There's only 0.23 grams in this. So I suspect that I'll use about 1/3. So I'd say about 12 mils. So let's see if I can predict that. And then my final volume. So I'm going to say it's about 12. So let's see here. Can already see that it's turning pink quite quickly. Huh? And you'll see that it fades away as you swirl because it'll react with any of the KHP still in your flask. So, I think we're almost there. Oh. And I can zoom in a little bit more for you guys. Here we go. So yeah, I'm about at 11.5, which is pretty cool, because this is how you'll predict your other titrations. And there we go. So for me, oh, look at that, 11.9. 11.90 milliliters. Boom. So I got that one, and then I would move on to the third. So, going from there, I got number 3, ready to go. Rinsing the sides of my flask. And I'll get that under there. Now, because I only used 12 mils, or about 12 mils, and let's see, I had 2, 3 grams about. So for this one, I have, for my third, so I'm starting at 11.90 mils, right? Zoom out a little. Starting at 11.90 mils. And if this one is about 0.43, I would say it would take about 24 mils. So 12, I'd say I'm going to go down to around 36. So again, phenolphthalein, can never forget that. Always have to put that in. Go. And rinse. So I'm going to guess around 36-ish. So let's let her go. It's always good to stop, give it a swirl, allow everything to react there. 28. $31. $33. Oh. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a slight tint of that pink. So I'm going to write 33.60. 33.60 milliliters. Awesome. So now I got my titration volumes. This is my third one. Now, I'm just doing this as an experimental for you. What you would want to do is go through these and do your calculations, rough calculations, as you're titrating. Because you're going to need 3 good titrations in order to crunch your data. So now I'm going to show you my flasks. And this is in order from the titrations that I did, with this one over here being number 3. Zoom out for you. So you should see how the color gets more faint as I move from flask to flask, with the last one being number 3. I didn't label it, sorry. But you can see how light it is compared to the others. So the first one will usually be a rough titration, and then approximating, you'll be able to figure out about how much volume you'll need for this. So once you're done with that, go back to the burette real quick. My rinses, I'm going to rinse through my burette and allow my solution to go through, because now I suspect that I'll have good titrations. It's all worked out with the math, looking at how much that I've used of my KHP, so that's very good and affirming to me. So I'll rinse this through here with some water twice. So this is just my base leaving, but I'll rinse through. And then I'll hang my beaker upside down once that's done. I'm going to just do this a bit quicker. It's one. And this will be two. Make sure to clean up any spills around your area, because the base will leave a light residue, and then it will stain our benches. I'm going to hang that upside down. And I usually leave a Kim white to grab any excess. Again, your flasks are going to go into the waste beaker to the front. And that concludes the titration video for our standardization of sodium hydroxide.